For Sunday, July 24th, you found the Georgia Gang. Topping our agenda this morning, one big word, Trump, and that's with an exclamation point. We will have tax votes come November all over Metro Atlanta, and today we'll give you a look at the runoffs that are on Tuesday's ballot in Georgia. Some of the stories up for grabs on the Georgia Gang.
From the Fox 5 studios, the Georgia Gang starts now.
And we're so glad you can be with us on this Sunday. We're going to look ahead to the Georgia runoffs, which come up Tuesday. But first, there's no way to avoid really the big story of the weekend, and that is Donald Trump. And again, I say, with an exclamation point. I say that because he shouted at us for an hour and 16 minutes on Thursday night, never changing his tone, never moderating it, never modulating it, almost never pausing. I probably will vote for Donald Trump.
Yikes.
I will admit that up front.
No.
Worst nomination speech since Michael Dukakis for the Democrats in 1988.
Well,
Phil, I know you're going to disagree.
Well, I do disagree. Now, I admit he's no Winston Churchill, but I thought he hit all of the major themes that everyone is concerned about in this country, Republican, Independent, or Democrat. Now, you might not like some of this, and is he a classical conservative like William F. Buckley? No, but he is hitting some conservative and populist themes, and he made himself, I thought, very pivoting well, the law and order candidate.
That's not a pivot. He
Well,
did not pivot at all.
He has pivoted toward that, and he's going to be emphasizing that. And I think when you've got Hillary Clinton excusing lawbreaking, and you've got Donald Trump calling for law and order, that's quite a contrast. So in the end, and I'd like for you to comment on it, but he drew some contrast, whether he shouted or not. He drew some contrast between a very extremist Hillary Clinton Democrat agenda. So there you go.
Well, Jeff, what did you think? I mean, look, my points are style points.
Yes.
It bothered me that he's not good with the teleprompter.
Well,
Mike Pence was good. His daughter Ivanka was terrific. He can't use the teleprompter. He's only got one tone.
I thought it was the first time that he ever did use the teleprompter, so we probably ought to forgive him for his attempts.
But you can't. He's running for president.
Right, but you can't because he's running for president. The speeches prior to his were excellent. His best friend, one of his best friends spoke and actually made an attempt at humanizing Donald Trump. His daughter, Ivanka, was wonderful, though it was clearly a Democratic speech, and she favors her Republican father. We get that. But the nominee himself kind of fell flat, and he fell right back into the same pattern. And Phil, I disagree with you about the substance. We're talking style, but about the substance, when all of a sudden you pivot to law and order and pivot to law and order, and you mention it 4 times in a row, law and order, law and order, law and order, this is his new Willie Horton, right? He knows how to fear-monger with his base.
Alexis,
and that's precisely what he did in that speech.
Alexis, I thought the speech was an organizational nightmare as well.
Yes, it was all over
Law
the
and
place.
You'd go to trade, and all of a sudden we're back on law and order. It bothered me. Now, I know simple themes work well, and I totally agree with Phil. The notes he hit were the right ones for this time in this country in a campaign against someone radical like Hillary Clinton. I think that's fine.
Really, Hillary Clinton is not radical. She's so establishment. But here's the thing. He was fear-mongering the entire time, and he was saying things that he has no control over unless he's running for dictator if we change the whole form of government. There's nothing he can do about crime on the city streets.
Point taken. Unless he's going to nationalize local police departments.
Which is what Hillary wants to do.
Nothing. He's going to declare martial law. There's nothing he can do. But it's entirely possible that he doesn't understand that.
Now, both candidates.
It is.
Both candidates are going to set the tone. Hillary's going to do it this coming week. Trump did it last week. There's nothing wrong with that. No one's saying they're going to be a dictator. But I think we're talking about a safe America, if you want to keep on the law and order theme, because it's not fear-mongering, Jeff. People generally want to be safe. I don't care what race or political creed you are.
Want to be safe,
you want to be
but
safe in your homes and on the
there is no
streets.
plan. There was no even hint of policy. Just he is the solution. Take me. What do you say? I alone can fix it.
You know, the bully pulpit, you've said this yourself, the bully
ego.
pulpit is very important for any president of any party, and he'll use the bully pulpit.
Well,
You
he
can
is
be sure
definitely
of
a
that.
bully.
Let me change, because here we had all this law and order. Now, in this convention, in my view, Georgia did not play a huge role.
Right.
David Perdue was there, but not a delegate. He spoke to the delegation, wore his jean jacket, portraying himself again as an outsider. Nathan Deal, the governor, was there. And it's interesting. Here we are at a law and order convention. I didn't see that coming 9 months ago, but here we are. And Nathan Deal drew some applause for proposing more criminal justice reforms and higher pay and more training for police in sensitive situations. And he said he's going to make it a legislative priority. That's fascinating in the backdrop of law and order, and oh, by the way, let's fix the police.
But Dick, I don't see any problem with that. I mean,
I don't either.
I think people of all stripes should appreciate what Nathan Deal has done and other states are doing, both Democrat and Republican, with these accountability courts. Let's just take that one example, where you've got these drug courts or you've got these veterans courts, and they're trying to help people. And I don't see that as an ideological thing. I think the governor should be applauded.
Well, I think that is good. Again, it goes back to funding. Who's going to pay for this? And is the federal government, is dictator Trump going to pay for this? He's going to order
I think
people?
Nathan Deal proposes that the legislature will pay for the local reforms.
It's a 50-state thing, and I think it's catching on.
Well,
Which, by the way, makes your point over there on that side of the table that Donald Trump really doesn't have that much control over local policing. It's going to take what Nathan Deal's doing and what Kasim Reed is not doing. That's how it gets done.
Well, he does over the federal
the mayor
grants.
is
Now,
addressing this issue.
the president has a lot
so.
of control over federal grant making.
Yeah, but not so much training.
You guys know that.
Not so much training and time.
And I think that Kasim Reed
Training
is
grants
doing
are
a
all over the
terrific
country from the
job.
feds.
You know, you got people out there, Black Lives Matter, calling for disinvesting in the police, and the mayor is saying, "Are you kidding? With the terrorism that's going on around this world, we're not disinvesting in the police."
Well,
I think the mayor's been strong on that point, and I think that the governor, to his credit, has been great on criminal justice reform. How do you square that with the rhetoric of Donald Trump? You can't do it.
You can square
You can't
that.
do it.
You
No,
can,
it doesn't-
square it.
it doesn't
You
fit.
can have law and order, and you can have reform.
Well,
Okay.
let's look ahead at the Democrats a little bit. Oh, by the way, on the question of paying for all this, I think it was interesting this week. The Georgia lottery hit $1 billion in annual proceeds distributions to education in this state, namely college costs. So the economy in Georgia is recovering to the degree that these big lottery drawings are going to avoid the annual hassle over whether we can afford Hope scholarships, right?
Well, that was quite a historic milestone.
really
Yeah.
It
And you know,
is.
I'm
And-
surprised other states do not follow our model.
And why don't they have a casino too? I mean, the whole point is that, again, the people who can least afford it, who are hoping they can win the lottery, are financing the lottery.
Well,
it's
you just said,
about
wait a
money.
minute, you just said you wanted casino gambling.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Doesn't
Why
that-
not? That's what I'm saying. Because people want to take a chance because they don't have a
We
chance.
don't have enough Indians.
Will casino
They can change
gambling?
the law.
Will casino gambling? I'll throw this question out. Cannibalize from the lottery, though.
No, I don't think that it
I
would.
don't-
But that's not the point. I think we need to be able to go back. You look at the $1 billion. You need to go back and look at the origins of this program. The fact that these funds were earmarked. Were they not earmarked, we'd be in serious
The
trouble.
genius of Zeltman.
Well,
That's
I
exactly
think we all
right.
agree.
Yeah.
They
That's
are
right.
earmarked for pre-K and
That's
for the
right.
whole
That's
college.
The genius of
scholarship.
Zeltmiller.
And
All right,
it
we're
would've been
trying to wrap
a
up
slush
here.
fund otherwise.
Let's just look ahead at the Democrats real quickly. They begin this coming week, and we will have Stacey Abrams on the podium, our minority leader. Kasim Reed gets a shot at prime time. They added someone else
Jason
late.
Carter.
Jason Carter. What's he going to say?
I think that
He's
he's going
got
to
lose the
introduce
governor's
a,
race.
there's a,
and
there's a,
three easy
video of
lessons.
his grandfather.
a video of his grandfather. Exactly right.
That's okay. Well, those were good times, right? 13% inflation, 21% interest rates. Boy, let's
They're not
talk
gonna have that in
about
the
that.
video. That
Oh,
won't be in the
won't be in the
video.
video?
No.
There'll be that no one got killed during his tenure of 4 years. There were no wars, no bombs dropped. That's what they're going to
There were
focus
hostages.
on.
Yeah,
in
well,
Iran.
he was
Hostages were taken,
surprised
but there
when
were
the
no people
Russians
killed.
There
invaded
were
Afghanistan.
hostages.
Nobody
in Iran.
was killed and no bombs were dropped.
And
Okay.
he cowardly pulled the U.S. out of the Olympics because of the Russians in Afghanistan.
thought we were
One of the
talking about
worst
the speakers of
presidential
the
acts in
Democrats.
history. What a coward. All right. When we come back, all across the metro area, the lineup is getting set. Guess what? You get to vote for tax increases. We'll explain it all to you in a minute.
Have a question or comment for the Georgia Gang? Visit their website at fox5atlanta.com.
Before we get to those questions of taxes in the local area, let's stop by at Atlanta City Hall where Kasim Reed met with those protesters who have a death wish by trying to get onto the downtown connector. The mayor met with them was praised for doing so. He accepted their demands. Demands is the silliest noun that could ever be applied to what they're saying. And
well, he didn't accept
He
them.
did receive.
he received them. He
Receive
received
them.
them. Thank you.
Right. It's different.
And he's going to meet with them again and consider the demands. Well, the
Yes.
demands are the wishes of 18-year-olds. They don't matter.
He's already.
Can I have the car keys or what?
He's already acknowledged that he's not going to agree to all of these demands. He made that clear at the outset.
Gutting the police budget,
Right.
preventing police from training in Israel.
That
That's
was
kind
my,
of an
that was
obscure
my
one, isn't it?
favorite. I mean, that shows quite an anti-Semitic streak among some of these anti-police protesters too. But I will give the mayor credit. I mean, it's obvious.
Wait a minute.
It was too radical.
He's still in my heart.
It was too radical for even him.
Yeah, it was. Oh, okay, good point. It was. Now, Atlanta Progressive News, which is a far-left news operation with some credibility in my view, they allege that Kasim Reed broke the open meetings law of the state of Georgia by joining the protesters, meeting with them, and inviting half the city council or more. And could it have constituted a quorum? I'm not sure if it did, but you know, really, that should have been a public meeting, not a private meeting. I think they're right.
Well, it was a public meeting.
But you have to announce it,
It
too.
was publicized, yes, and there are procedures for that, but that would fall on the council more than the mayor. The mayor gets to make public pronouncements at will. He is in and of himself a quorum, and we know that he can speak
That is a
publicly
great
And he can
to
close
the
the door.
press and everybody else. It's not
That is a
spin.
great spin.
Have you ever known that you can't, you can't have a conversation with the mayor because it's got to be public? That's absurd. It's absurd on its face. So, but
I'm sure
when
the
you're
mayor
talking
can
about
count.
a quorum of the council, that's a different matter altogether.
All right, now let's get to some meat here. I noticed that Felicia Moore, the Atlanta City Councilwoman, likened these votes on special purpose local option sales taxes. She likened it to crack. So when public officials get a hold of these taxes, they don't want to get rid of them. And I think it's interesting. Just this week, we had Atlanta City Council, 2 votes, one for a 0.4 cent sales tax for transportation projects, mostly around sidewalks, bicycles, roads, that sort of thing. And then another ½ cent, 0.5 of a cent, for MARTA, again, mostly aimed at the Beltline, which would raise the city's property tax, if the voters approve, to sales tax to 8.9%.
Right.
In Fulton County, same deal, different ratio, 0.75 cents for road improvements
Right.
and traffic improvements, and then maybe later allowing a 20.25 cent vote on MARTA.
Right.
That's another 1 cent on the sales tax. These are not exactly progressive taxes. These hurt the poor more than anyone else, I would think you would say.
Just like the
Well,
lottery.
it goes to everybody. It goes to everybody. It cuts across all income levels, Dick. I think in Fulton County, with our congestion and traffic problems, I think there's a good chance that there's going to be sympathy.
You know,
for it.
everybody
But shouldn't it be
coming
tied to
through
property
Georgia,
tax relief?
Well, it is tied to property tax relief to the
I think the
extent
answer
that
is
they're not
it is
increasing
not
property
a property
taxes.
tax increase. It's a sales tax increase. And so everybody who comes in and uses the streets of the city and the county and buys goods, not services, but goods in the city and the county are contributing to these transportation initiatives as well. They should, because they use that infrastructure.
But you're right. but
And
shouldn't
I
there be
think
an
that
offset?
it relieves property taxes, because otherwise that's where the onus would fall.
Now, in
And
Gwinnett,
property taxes have not been increased in the city.
Well, but the millage rates have been, and that's
Now, in
that's a
Gwinnett
problem.
County, a new twist, Gwinnett voters will vote on another 1 cent sales tax for 6 years, stretching it out between doses of crack. And maybe the voters don't notice that this is going to 6 years, but DeKalb's the best. DeKalb was
said
all
no.
set to build a new government center, do all the pork barrel you could do, and a legislative snafu, language inserted into a bill incorrectly, it seems.
It was one word.
Incorrectly.
One
It was
word.
One word.
that
That's
tripped it
exactly
up.
right.
Yeah.
And they have to go back and fix it.
It was the word. It
said-
was the word tolling.
Yeah.
Yes.
Tolling, you thought, had to do with roads.
That's right.
It actually
That's
is
right.
a legal term for exiting, suspending.
A lot of people
Right.
learned something.
People thought it was
Right.
to extend. No, it was to stop.
Stop.
Anyway,
Yeah.
no property tax freeze in DeKalb, so the commission backed away and said, okay, we'll go back to the drawing board, we'll let the legislature fix this in January. In the meantime, the commission's got to figure out, do they want it just for transportation, as the law intended, or do they want to build a new government center? I don't know. And also in DeKalb this week, Jeff Morris Williams, who's been a fixture in DeKalb government for years, he's worked with the Parks Department. He rose to become Deputy Chief Operating Officer, indicted over that mystery $4,000 check that we've talked about. You remember, it was the one made out to Lee May.
Right.
And Lee May says, I never saw this check. I don't know.
Right, and presumably endorsed by Lee May, and Lee May said that he'd never seen it. The businessman who was involved in that, and actually I think wrote the check, was also indicted, and we're going to have to see how all this plays out.
Yeah.
Well, it's just DeKalb again, but I don't know. The Lee May angle, I think that it was pretty well established it was not his signature.
Right, exactly
endorsing
right,
that
exactly
check.
right. And
Right.
he has categorically denied any connection with the $4,000 all the time, and was not implicated in any way.
Though
in
he
these
did use
indictments.
relationships to get the repair work done in his home, and that's where the businessman came in.
Right.
Okay, that will do it on the local part of things. Now, when we come back, yes, indeed, there is an election. It's Tuesday. In most of the metro counties, there are several runoffs, even though you may have forgotten when the primary was. But those runoffs come up Tuesday, and we'll try and sort them out for you.
Have a question or comment for the Georgia Gang? Visit their website at fox5atlanta.com.
All right, you know we like elections, so we're going to go quickly here. A lot of runoffs to cover the next few minutes. The big one, of course, is in Cobb County, where Commission Chairman Tim Lee is in trouble against the challenger Mike Boyce. And I got it right, Mike Boyce.
Very good.
I got that right. And I don't know, the turnout is likely to be so small. Is it possible that the Chamber of Commerce and pro-business forces can rally behind Tim Lee?
Well, they hope so, but as we all know, in these low turnout elections, those with the most fervor, and I would say the opponents to Tim Lee have the most fervor, will turn out. So I think Lee is in trouble.
Well,
No, you mean the most fervor is for Boyce. No,
That's right.
That's what you meant to say.
That's right.
Okay, you said for Lee.
Okay.
He's just knocked on so many doors throughout that
Right.
county. He's got
Right.
so many volunteers out there. This is going to be a real uphill
know about
battle.
Boyce.
for
Don't you
Tim.
think voters-
I'm talking about
Yeah.
Mike Boyce.
Yeah.
It's going to be an uphill battle for Tim Lee. Now, Tim Lee, let's acknowledge Tim Lee's done a lot of work, particularly in the area of metro transportation. That 2012 T-SPLOST referendum, Tim Lee was with us on that, and has been one of the more courageous.
He was with you on that.
and he got the Braves. Look, Jeff. He got the Braves and the economic development that is growing from the Braves now.
Yeah,
And I think
but
that
he did
vision's
it-
got to be
What do you
recognized.
think?
But he got a little too Trumpy.
But don't you
He just
think that
made it happen without public input.
having made that deal, having brought the Braves to Cobb County, that he would be riding high right now, and he's in the political part of his
Lack
life.
of
Now,
transparency.
in the 3rd
That's it.
congressional district, which is West Georgia, south of Metro Atlanta, Mike Crane, a former state senator, is running against a dentist from West Point, Drew Ferguson. And of all things Friday, Ted Cruz, fresh from his
Being
appearance
booed.
being booed at the Republican National Convention, was in to campaign for Mike Crane. And by the way, Charles Krauthammer may be the greatest line of his ever. He called Ted Cruz's speech the other night the world's longest political suicide note. I thought that was just
Well, you
great.
know, if I was congressional candidate Mike Crane, I might have called Ted Cruz and said, "Can you kind of be sick Friday and
Never
and maybe
mind,
not come
huh?
in?"
Well,
And
but you
I don't
made a
know
good
if that-
point, though, that Cruz is coming in specifically to defend Mike Crane against the commercials that say he wants to kill cops.
Right.
Nothing could be farther from the truth.
Yeah, that has been distorted by the Ferguson forces, and what Crane was talking about is if you were at your home at 2 in the morning and there's a knock on the door and no one identifies yourself, you're apt. You have a firearm, you're apt to be frightened and shoot. And so that was the context of what Mike Crane was talking about. He's not talking about willy-nilly.
He's talking about no-knock warrants.
That's right. That's right.
In that tragic case in North Georgia.
That's right.
Right.
And it's a. Of
That's
course,
how
now,
things get distorted.
the popular
That's
congressman
politics.
from that area who's stepping down, Lynn Westmoreland, is on every commercial break, on every station I watch, endorsing Drew Ferguson.
Here's my question. If Lynn Westmoreland wants to run for higher office statewide in a Republican primary, why would you take sides in this Republican primary? Why not be a friend to all?
Perhaps he owes
I'll
a
stay with you.
political
All right,
debt.
in DeKalb County,
That could be the answer.
in DeKalb County, there are 3 runoffs that I'm aware of. One is Sharon Barnes Sutton, the incumbent commissioner, against a fellow named Steve Bradshaw, former Army officer. It's a racial mess, with Sharon Barnes Sutton making references to obscure movies,
It's not so obscure.
outing him for having a white wife. I mean, really? And he just seems like a normal, everyday candidate who's got some business sense.
I think that a lot of people were turned off by the campaigns, by the flyers, and some of the things that she's pointed out. There are some people who are actively campaigning for Bradshaw in that district, and it seems more likely to me than in a runoff where you will have a low turnout, that Bradshaw's folks are more likely to come out than Sutton's. So, but we'll see.
And in the primary, he came within 4 points of
Of
winning outright.
Winning outright.
And Vernon Jones, our old friend, the former CEO of the county, also came within a whisker of winning without a runoff. He is now
Very,
run
very
off
few votes.
with
I mean,
Rhonda
just a
Taylor.
couple of dozen
That might be a
votes.
couple hundred votes decided, right?
Right,
Right.
exactly right. But he's going to win that one, I think.
That's in East DeKalb and Rockdale
Rockdale,
County.
right.
In Brookhaven, we have Megan Hansen, who's appeared on this broadcast several times, and she's against Alan Cole in a runoff. A little tough to call. Cole seems to be spending a lot more money and is hammering her with Daily Mail pieces, calling her a lobbyist.
Yeah, and all of this is just totally distorted. I think that's working in Megan Hansen's favor. And real quick, have you guys been following in Fulton County, part of Fulton County, the Democrat runoff in House District 63 with Linda Pritchard and Deborah Bazemore? That's interesting because Bazemore is pointing out that, wait a minute, Linda Pritchard has a rap sheet a mile long.
Really?
Yeah, oops.
As in criminal
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah.
Oh, that's nice.
Watch that Democrat
Also in
primary.
Fulton County, last thought there's this county-wide runoff for sheriff.
Sheriff, right.
Ted Jackson,
Who's the current
incumbent sheriff, being opposed by a former sheriff,
sheriff.
Richard Langford.
Yeah.
It's past and present kind of
right.
in that race, but I suspect Ted
Jackson.
Jackson, Steve Bradshaw, Ted Jackson will
prevail.
survive. All right.
And then there's Keith Gamage.
Which?
Keith Gamage and Clint Rucker are in a runoff.
Oh, that's right. Clint
solicitor.
Rucker,
For
the
solicitor.
prosecutor,
Right.
running for
County.
solicitor.
Right.
Good call.
Yeah.
Yeah, Clint Rucker's a well-known trial lawyer on the prosecutor's staff.
Right.
Right. And
All right.
Keith has been endorsed by the outgoing solicitor.
All right, we're getting a
So-
fast wrap here.
Sorry.
When we come back, how about winners and losers? Stay with us.
Time now for the week's winners and losers.
And we will begin winners and losers with you, Phil.
Well, I am going to make the winners Donald Trump and Mike Pence because they had a Republican convention that rallied the troops. And, of course, we'll probably be making Hillary Clinton and whoever vice president is winners next week. But I thought it was a better speech than you're characterizing, Dick. But here's a couple other winners.
Oh, by the way, I thought Pence was terrific.
Okay.
Pence was good.
Here's a couple other winners, though, on the state level. And we saw that Justice Hugh Thompson is going to be stepping down from the Supreme Court, a fine jurist. But the other winner in connection with that is Governor Nathan Deal, because he gets a chance to reshape the state Supreme Court.
Sure does.
You remember the legislature gave him 2 extra justices. This makes it 3. And he will put his conservative stamp on the Supreme Court.
And there was a resignation on the Court of Appeals this week,
That's right.
which gives him yet another opportunity
That's a historic milestone.
It is.
to do that.
Let's all
Alexis,
hold
what
our
do you
breath.
have?
Okay, I will say that the Trump children who spoke at the convention were winners because they were so fabulous and they sounded real democratic.
poised.
But they were just really, really wonderful speakers and did great jobs. So, and I would say Michelle Obama is a winner this week because her speech from 2008 was so good that Melania Trump used some of it for her. So she's a winner. But she was
Deftly put, Alexis.
she was very good too, Melania Trump, in her delivery. Very good. And I don't have any winners. I don't have any losers. And the mayor. I have to say the mayor did very well in meeting with the protesters.
All right, Jeff?
My winner is Ted Cruz. Ted Cruz proved that he's no servile puppy dog.
Right.
You can't talk about
words.
his wife and his dad and everybody else and accuse his father of being involved in Kennedy assassination and think that you're going to get an endorsement. But more to the point, I think that he was saying this. He's not after an endorsement. Yeah, Trump wants to cut to the quick. He wants you to submit. It's not just about an endorsement. Hats off to Ted Cruz. Can't stand Ted Cruz. Hats off to Ted Cruz. He's the winner.
Right.
The loser, those folks shouting, lock her up, and the guy who gets up and makes a speech talking about a firing squad for Hillary Clinton, this is how Republicans discredit themselves.
Well, I think they'll lock her up. She certainly shouldn't have a security clearance. We got to get out. My time's gone. Our old friend John Evans, the convicted felon, stepping down as head of the DeKalb NAACP. And the Chick-fil-A cows are going away. We didn't have time for that. And Marion Campbell, the two-time coach of the Falcons, died this week. Great Georgia Bulldog. We'll see you next week on the Georgia Gang.
The opinions expressed in this broadcast are those of the panelists appearing in this program